Hi everyone, my name is Emily and I am an alcoholic, and welcome to the Design for Living Big Book Study. And with me is,
Elizabeth, alcoholic.
all right, and we are going to be into action on page 78. Do you want to start reading, Elizabeth?
Sure. Most alcoholics owe money. We do not dodge our creditors, telling them what we are trying to do. We make no bones about our drinking. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. Nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory it may cause financial harm. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. Our drinking has made us slow to pay. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have to go, for we are liable to drink if we're afraid to face them. I don't have a lot to say that I didn't already say before, because yes, I did talk about a financial amends to the IRS, um, that I was just trying to take the next step and not worry about the one after that. And I had a lot of cool things happen. It really worked out. Do you want to speak about that, Emily?
Um, no, not really. I don't have anything to say about that either.
All
But
right.
I'll read the next paragraph.
Okay.
Perhaps we are on page 78. Perhaps we have committed a criminal offense which might land us in jail if it were known to the authorities. We may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. We have already admitted this in confidence to another person, but we are sure we would be imprisoned or lose our job if it were known. Maybe it was only a petty offense, such as padding the expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Do you have anything to share on that?
No, but I think all of these paragraphs, are just giving us the idea that we have to have the right attitude about cleaning up our side of the street, and not be afraid of the outcome. I know in a minute they're going to talk about whether or not it's going to be useful for us to be in prison. So I'll just wait for that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never got in trouble with the authorities or ended up in jail or anything like that, but I have worked with people that have, and unfortunately they had to serve some time, but they had to do some time and did some community service, and just had to from now on just try to clean up their side of the street and try to do good and learn from their past, and it is important that we clean up our side of the street and try not to make the same mistakes that they had in the past, because we're trying to, move on and be more helpful and be examples for other people. So that's all I have for that.
Okay, page 79. Maybe we are divorced and have remarried but haven't kept up the alimony to number one. She is indignant about it and has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble, too. Although these reparations take innumerable forms, there are some general principles which we find guiding, reminding ourselves that we have decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. We ask that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be. We may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but we are willing. We have to be. We must not shrink at anything. I think that's continuing to remind us that, God is running the show. I need to give myself to my higher power and do the right thing and live a spiritual life. And I know that one of the things that I have found, and I need to go to any lengths to have a spiritual experience. I've shared in here a couple of times that I'm going through a coda first step, and I'm having a really hard time looking at the things that I have done. I can't blame the other person. That's not going to be useful for me. I can't stay there. It sucks anyway. It really feels bad to feel like I'm victimized. But I need to have a spiritual experience and respect. One of the things I've realized is I have not respected the disease of codependency the way I respect my disease of alcoholism. But it gets me into as much trouble, at least for me so far. Um, because I got sober young, but and I need to have a spiritual experience because if I could change myself, I would. It doesn't matter how much I understand why I did the things I did, or if I don't understand them, because I'm getting to a place where I don't fully understand why I made the choices that I did. I don't fully understand it. I want to, but I think that's because I want to control it. And it just reminds me over and over, and what this paragraph is telling us, and the book tells us over and over and over again. This is about living and having a spiritual experience and developing a relationship with my higher power and finding out, like, what do I need to do that? Um, yeah. And I have found that when I really try to live the right way, when I really try to earnestly follow what I think my higher power wants, even when I'm kicking and screaming inside because I really don't want to. And I'm like, but what about this? But what about that? I have found that when my heart is really in the right place, the universe, things go my way. They really, really do. Obstacles are removed. Consequences aren't as bad as I thought they would be. Things happen that I would never expect. And I've had a lot of experience with that. But of course, every time I think it's not going to happen, I get into fear. I'm like, no way, it's not going to work out this time. It's not going to work this time. But it always does. So, yeah, that's all I have there. Do you want me
I,
to read the next one? Or you want to do it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
We're in the middle of page 79. Usually, however, other people are involved. Therefore, we are not to be hasty and foolish martyr who would needlessly sacrifice others to save himself from the alcoholic pit. A man we know had remarried because of resentment and drinking. He had not paid alimony to his first wife. She was furious. She went to court and got an order for his arrest. He had commenced our way of life, had secured a position, and was getting his head above water. It would have been impressive heroics if he had walked up to the judge and said, "Here I am." I don't really have anything to share about that because I don't have like this experience or anything, but um I do know some married people and they got remarried and just didn't pay child support and got themselves into some like legal trouble. And I just know that we have to right our wrongs. If we get remarried or get into another relationship with another person or something like that, we have to make sure we're right with that person and God and just move on from there and do what's right. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, I think this goes perfectly with the next paragraph. So let's go ahead and read that. We thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary, but if he were in jail, he could provide nothing for either family. We suggested he write the first wife admitting his faults and asking forgiveness. He did, and also sent a small amount of money. He told her what he would try to do in the future. He said he was perfectly willing to go to jail if she insisted. Of course, she did not, and the whole situation has long since been adjusted. So again, being willing to do the right thing, being willing to make the amend, to make her whole, and she backed off on the charges, right? I mean, that's the sincere willingness that we can show to other people because they're tired of our excuses. They're tired of us playing games. They're tired of us running around and not being accountable. I'm kind of in the wife position in this situation right now in my life. And it's sad, but yeah. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But we can tell, people can tell when we're sincere. They can tell when we're humble. It shows, when we're willing, when we say, I did this wrong. This is how I harmed you. We're not sitting here saying, I'm sorry. We're not making excuses, you know. We're saying, this is what I did. And that, I mean, I know when somebody does that to me, it's just amazing. Like, it's like so validating because, yeah, I felt harmed. Um, but I haven't personally been in that situation. I stole a lot from a store when I was young, but the store got sold to somebody else, and so I wasn't sure how to make that amend. So I've just tried to keep, like, be completely on. One time I wore a belt out of a store accidentally. I'd lost a lot of weight. My pants were falling down, so I put the belt on, and I forgot to pay for it on the way out. So I left the tag on the belt. My kids teased me about this for a while because I kept forgetting. And then one day I went in and I said, listen, I've been wearing this belt for months. I forgot to pay for it. And they were like, okay. And they charged me and they were, and they were fine. I mean, that's really the only silly example I could think of. But yeah, I couldn't do anything about when I was a teenager, filling my purse up with 80s cosmetics because, yeah, that store didn't exist anymore under that ownership. So, Yeah, I've just tried to do it in other ways, you know.
Hmm.
Okay, so we go to the next one.
Yep.
Oh, and I also want to point out there too, it also talks about, and I don't know if it does it more here in a minute, but you know, he the guy asked, it says we thought, right? We suggested. So a lot of amends, I need to talk to other people. If I'm not sure how to handle it, you know, go to other people. Our sponsors are good, of course, or someone that has experience, you know, someone who has experience with that type of amend. What did you do? You know? All right, let's go on the next page, page 80.
Yep.
Before taking drastic action which might implicate other people, we secure their consent. If we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, asked God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. This brings to mind a story about one of our friends. While drinking, he accepted a sum of money from a bitterly hated business rival, giving him no receipt for it. He subsequently denied having received the money and used the incident as a basis for discrediting the man. He thus used his own wrongdoing as a means of destroying the reputation of another. In fact, his rival was ruined. He felt that he had done a wrong he could not possibly make right. If he opened that old affair, he was afraid it would destroy the reputation of his partner, disgrace his family, and take away his means of livelihood. What right had he to involve those dependent on him? How could he possibly make a public statement exonerating his rival? After consulting with his wife and partner, he came to the conclusion that it was better to take those risks than to stand before his Creator guilty of such ruinous slander. He saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands, or he would soon start drinking again, and all would be lost anyhow. He attended church for the first time in many years. After the sermon, he quietly got up and made an explanation. His action met widespread approval, and today he is one of the most trusted citizens of his town. This all happened years ago. Um, Yeah, so I guess did he go to his, I don't see where it is in there. Did he go to his partner and tell him? I don't know. Yeah, he did. So again, it's emphasizing sincerity and truth. I mean, I gotta live that way. I can't live with this stuff. I cannot live with lies. I cannot. It says we'll drink again. If I don't trust the higher power, then my other higher power is John Barleycorn, right? That's what they call it. That's alcohol. I get two choices. I'm either going to try to do this thing and trust my God with the outcome, or I'm going to end up drinking again. So yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Um, I can't really relate to any of this. But yeah, I feel like, we have to make those wrongs right. Otherwise, we're just living with that, guilt and shame, and then people can't, trust us because, we do things that harm other people, whether it's stealing or cheating or, any of that. But yeah, I definitely think it's important that we ask God to show us, ways of doing what's right. And yeah, that's all I have. I don't have too much more to add. But I'll read the bottom of page 80.
Okay.
The chances are that we have domestic troubles. Perhaps we are mixed up with women in a fashion we wouldn't care to have advertised. We doubt if, in this respect, alcoholics are fundamentally much worse than other people. But drinking does complicate sex relations in the home. After a few years with an alcoholic, a wife gets worn out, resentful, and uncommunicative. How could she be anything else? The husband begins to feel lonely and sorry for himself. He commences to look around at nightclubs or the equivalent for something besides liquor. Perhaps he's having a secret and exciting affair with a girl who understands. In fairness, we must say that she may understand, but what are we going to do about a thing like that? A man so involved often feels very remorseful at times, especially if he's married to a loyal, courageous girl who has literally gone through hell with him. Um,
Why don't you read the next one and then we'll talk.
okay. Whatever the situation, we usually have to do something about it. If we are sure our wife does not know, should we tell her? Not always, we think. If she knows in a general way what that we have had we have been wild should we tell her in detail. Undoubtedly, we should admit our faults. She may insist on knowing all the particulars. She will want to know who the woman is and where she is. We feel we ought to say to her that we have no right to involve another person. We are sorry for what we have done, and God willing, it shall not be repeated. More than that, we cannot do. We have no right to go further. Though there may be justifiable expectations, and though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort, we have often found this is the best course to take. You have anything?
Oh yeah. I do. I mean, I get it. Like this is to me, this is emphasizing the fact that each situation can has its own set of circumstances, and that's why it's good to talk to another person and really consider. It says if we're going to harm people, then we need to really think about what we're doing here. If the harm is going to be greater, if I'm just trying to vent because, you know, I also think it's funny. This is one of those places where what does it say? Uh, let's see. Should we, let me, wait, hold on. She may insist on knowing all the particulars. We feel we ought to say to her, we have no right to involve another person. Well, I don't know how many of you have been married or especially if you, if I was involved with somebody who cheated and he put somebody else's privacy above our marriage, there would be a problem with me. He would need to trust me that I wouldn't do anything to the woman, but yeah, I would have a problem with him saying, "Well, I don't think I should tell you because that would not go well with me." And then I have to remember that it was men that wrote this book, men that possibly were cheaters. But I'm just telling you, I was baptized Catholic, and your partner has to be your number one priority in Catholic marriage, and yeah, so that wouldn't go well with me. But yeah, as far as knowing the particulars, I mean, obviously, if she doesn't know at all, I can tell you that I have a partner that early in the relationship, he said, if you ever cheat on me, don't tell me, ever. Now, I haven't cheated on him, but I did listen to that. I understand like that. So I think it's obviously a good thing to find out what your partner wants and needs as far as you being a good partner to them, for sure. Yeah. So I love that sentence. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, right. Yeah, try that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to protect her privacy over my commitment to our marriage. It's like, um, but I also think that 100% honesty can harm. And I think that there's a difference between lying and full disclosure that can harm people. I think that that is a very delicate matter. There's a lot of things to consider there, and that you definitely want to check it out with people, but also really pray and ask God about it because God alone can judge those things and ask like and really trust that intuitive thought because um yeah, some people don't want to know anything. They just want it not, you know what I mean? So what's the point to a degree, especially if you had a fling in another city and they're never going to find out and you feel really remorseful and you're never going to do it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, then do you need to go disclose it? Like, I don't know. It's a good one. It's a good question. Definitely something. All right, our design for living is not a one-way street. It is as good for the wife as for the husband. Um, if we can forget, so can she. It is better, however, that one does not needlessly name a person upon whom she can vent jealousy. Okay. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. Page 82. No outsider can appraise, like I just said, such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with the most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk a face-to-face combat. And, you know, I have been married twice. In my first marriage, I expected perfection from my partner. I was very demanding. I was very selfish. I had no idea. I had no program at all. And, I just think that, you know, it's sad because so many people don't stay. I mean, there are a lot of people in long-term relationships, but it does take a lot of acceptance of the other person as being flawed and making mistakes. And it's sad when you just let when anybody would let something like that just end the relationship, because I know I'm not perfect and I'm a lot to put up with. And so yeah, I just like that they're saying that, but I also laugh when I think about who possibly wrote all this too. Yeah, I see Rick nodding his head there. Okay. Do you want to read the next one, Emily?
Sure. Yeah. If we have no such, did you already read that? No, you didn't. Okay.
No.
If we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is to keep sober. Certainly, he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents, for whom for years he has so shockingly treated, passing all understanding, is the patient mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring through his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate. Habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. He is like the farmer who came out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, don't see anything the matter here, Ma? Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" The only thing I can say is the last paragraph. When I was in active addiction, I definitely like ruined all types of like relationships, whether it was with my brother, my parents, a friendship or whatever. I was very selfish, self-centered, and I was only worried about when the next time I was going to get a drink. And I didn't care about other people, and I definitely did hurt some relationships in my life, and that's where the amends come in. I know we'll be talking about that shortly. But I definitely, realize that now that I'm, sober, and I realized that I had done some wrong, and today I'm able to make right the wrongs today, and I'm just so grateful that we have this program, because if we didn't, then I would probably still be drunk or dead. So that's all I have for that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Selfish and inconsiderate habits. I didn't even know how selfish I was for so many years because I literally misunderstood the word selfish. I didn't know what it meant. I'm like, I thought it meant, when they teach you in kindergarten to share your toys with other people, right? I'm very giving, I'm like, oh, you want this? You like that? I'd give people stuff. I didn't know it meant that I'm constantly thinking about myself and how things affect me walking around. I'm one of those people, I'm going to tell on myself, dude, like, there's a countertop that we don't put food on. Now that's because I was the only one ever cleaning the countertops. And when I would come home and I'd want to put my stuff down, I didn't want it to be dirty. But I hit a place once where I realized I have a lot of these little rules, I'm hard to live with. Like I needed to really let go of some things and chill. Now I'm gonna say I'm really grateful that in the past 3 weeks I haven't had to wipe up a coffee spill. Some of you know what's going on in my life. That was kind of a nice thing the other day. I was like, oh, cool. Haven't had to. God love him. Yeah, very flaw, very, yeah, spilled shit a lot. Anyway, no, living a selfish life is not only painful for us as alcoholics, it's really painful for the people around us. And I'm really grateful today that I can pay attention. I've been going through a hard time, and some friends have really been there for me. And these are people that have been there for me my entire life since I mean, since I was a child, I've been friends with these, especially these two women, and they're both going through a hard time. And how often do I call them to check on them about what they're going through? And I realized, wow, my one friend is going through something hard, and I haven't called her to ask her about it in a week. And today I said, listen, I want to tell you, I am really sorry. I haven't asked you about what's going on with you, you know? Um, I'm waking up to a lot, especially in the past 5 years, about the fact that I didn't have a program. I didn't have a program. I was in management. I was in the second half of step one. And I have this condition of, ADHD. I don't notice. I'm so busy just trying to pick. I don't know what it, I don't know how to exactly put it into words, but I don't notice when other people are affected by me. I've had to work at that, to work to find out and ask people to tell me, can you tell me if I step on your toes? I try to notice, but I might not notice. We'll definitely talk more about that in step 10, but um, I have also lived on the other side of this situation. And it's been very, very, very difficult. I'm now single because I needed someone to recognize that part also, and they weren't. So yeah, don't see any problem here. It's like, you're bringing up the past. The past isn't the past when it's the present. Yeah. So I think it's hard for if we're on this path. You got to be on the both of you got to be on the path at some point. I mean, I couldn't do it. So. All right, let's go to this next page. What we got next?
83, top.
Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. I will tell you that I was in a long dry drunk. I did not know it. I yelled at my kids. I was also untreated ADHD. And when you have a lot of information or noise coming at you all at once and you're trying to make like everybody's lunches, I would snap at everybody. I put my kids on eggshells. They, you know, when I look back at like the effect on each child, I've talked to each one of them about it. They're all adults now. And we've talked a lot about my harm to them. And I mean, they know, I mean, I love them endlessly and love being their mother. And I absolutely hate that, how I was affected them. And they know that for sure. But to recognize the effect on them, my daughter, my middle daughter, she has a hard time, speaking up for herself. We were burdened a lot with my oldest child, had special needs, and a lot of the attention went there. And so there's a lot of things that we get to talk about. And what's really cool is my daughter's in a really good relationship. And I kind of laughed and said, "Did you get an example of one? Like, how did you do that?" She said, "You taught me to talk." And I thought that was cool, right? And that comes from this program, and that comes from being honest, being transparent, like telling them, "Look, here, I'm flawed. I love you and I'm doing my best, but it wasn't that great. At times it was really hurtful to you." And making sure they know, that I'm aware of that. And I tell them, if you ever want to talk to me about anything, I am available to hear it. And I have been, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's painful to look at some things, but I want to grow. I want to keep growing. I want them to grow. So I keep doing it. Now going first, my Al-Anon sponsor would say, "Let it begin with me." Oh, it used to make me so mad. So there were times I thought my ex-partner was at fault. And she said, why don't you go start with the, making amends? And I was like, "Ah, really?" But I did what she said because I know you're supposed to do what your sponsors tell you to do. So, and you know what? The what came back was even more than I thought. So the willingness to let my ego go, get suppressed and go first had a wonderful outcome. And that's all I got.
Hmm. What my sponsor pointed out to me in this paragraph was the last sentence. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. Obviously, asking is a prayer. And, that's what I strive to do every day when I wake up. I pray and get on my knees and, ask for patience, tolerance, and love, not being in myself and, actually trying to project, these things to other people. Um, with my sponsees and with other people as well, as difficult as it may be, and, trying to keep out of myself because it's not about me, it's about being there for other people when I was not present, when I was, drinking and drugging. And, yeah, we just, we don't sit on it like we just, again, it's into action, not just, into sitting, in the chapter. So, we take action and we try to do it the best we can every day. So that's all I have for that, but I'll read. We're in the middle of, well, second paragraph, 83. The spiritual life is not a theory, we have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incentively to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anybody. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason to postponement in some cases. But we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile and or scraping. As God's people, we stay on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. Yeah, it just we have to be honest and we have to be able to, you know, um, make our behaviors, be shown in people's lives and not just say that, we're gonna do something like we actually have to do it, and not lie because, we did plenty of that when we were drinking and drugging and we just have to show that we mean it this time and we're just trying to be better honest people. And yeah, that's all I have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like so it's the thing about the family not having to live on spiritual principles, you know, I can't force them. It'd be nice if they did, but this is where I once sponsored somebody who put his family through a 10-day coma. Then he was complaining about his wife. I was like, dude, pretty much you put them through a 10-day coma. Like anything she does, like you just need to just eat it, basically. I was just like, too bad, right? Like, come on. Um, just try to take it as an example or take it as another lesson for you to be, a patient, tolerant, kind, and loving. Just, yeah. I like how it continues to emphasize that we have to live this. I can't leave it in the book. I need to see everything as a possible way for me to grow. Um, and my behavior more than my words. Um, yeah, let's see. Um, as far as the writing a letter or being ready, there's reason for postpone, don't delay if it can be avoided. There are some people who don't want to hear from me. I did something years ago and, you know, it's part of the amend that I don't contact that person, and so now if anything ever came up, like if I ran into either of the people involved, I'm ready, I'm ready. But yeah, I would pray and ask my higher power, like how to handle it if I ran into them, if it was anything to say to them, I would just definitely hang back and make sure this isn't about, this is about me being respectful of what I really feel is, I can't sacrifice somebody else for myself because I think, oh, I got to go do this, No, no. Um, but I also like where it says we don't crawl before anyone. I I admit my harm, but I don't take abuse from people, and I've had that situation really with new alcoholics, where I'm trying to help them, and maybe they get their feelings hurt or they don't like, something that I've said or some way that I've presented what I think is the truth, that or the program or something, right? And I've oh man, what is it, Rebecca? We talked about this before where they just have a temper tantrum all over you and they want you to be the bad guy in their story and they're not ready to look at anything, and I just have to recognize that that happens. But I'll use the block feature. I'll be like, you know what? I've tried to be helpful to you, but I'm not here for what you're dishing out. And I'm sorry you're having such a hard time, but I'm gonna take a step back now, because I don't put up with that. That's not what I'm here to do. And really, I mean, when we get into working with others, we'll see. I mean, there's people that aren't ready for what we have to offer, and we don't have to waste our time with them, which, I actually love about this program. People are like, you should be a therapist. I'm like, I could not work with people that weren't ready to do the work. Like, I love being a sponsor because when they're not ready to do the work, we don't have to worry about them. We're like, okay, I'm here if you need me. If you ever want to do the work, come on back. But until then, wish you well, doing it your way. Awesome. Because I'm not taking abuse. But yeah, okay, should we, what time are we on? Yeah, let's do
Oh,
the ninth step promises.
mhm.
Okay, bottom of 83. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And oh my God, aren't those beautiful? One of the things that happens in the amends process I've found is that connection with other people. I did have fear of other people. I didn't even know I did. I didn't even like, I don't admit to fear to myself. That's the last one I'll admit. But I, when I find out that other people, I remember that early in recovery, someone said, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides, you know? And when I would hear other people share about how they felt and how they felt insecure, they felt all these other feelings that I felt, it started to melt that separateness that I had from everyone else. And yeah, let me go back. I want to see something here. Um, the new freedom and new happiness. I don't feel separate from that anxious apartness that I felt all my life, that loneliness, that aloneness, that feeling like I was the only one who felt the way I did. Now I have done some work to clean up my side of the street and to clean up my relationships with other people, and so now I feel, that new freedom, and I love it. And the we do not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. That is because everything that I did, it took for me to get here. One less bad thing that I did, I might not be sober. I might not be alive. So I can be grateful for my story. I can be grateful for every single thing that occurred that got me to where I am. And it's funny being in, I'm in steps 10, 11, and 12. I'm actually always in all the steps in AA, but I'm in step one in CODA. I'm not grateful yet. I'm not grateful for what it took to get me to the place that I am. Looking at my codependency, I'm not there yet. And it's funny because I know the process, right, from my AA work. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, I'm not grateful yet. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to be here. I'm still kicking and screaming, looking at all this, frustrated, paying consequences for my behavior, literally in money, cash money. Yeah. Right now. And it's very, I'm not there. I'm not anywhere near stuff. So I'm not having the promises right at all. Yeah, I'm still in the self-pity and uselessness. Yeah, all that stuff. I'm not grateful, but I look forward to knowing that, if I keep doing the work, which I am actively doing every single day, then I will get to this place. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, these promises did not come to me and did not come true to me until like I hit my fifth year of sobriety. Um, it says here, they will, sorry, sentence before, we think not, they are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will materialize if we work for them. Um, everything came to me very slowly because I was just that hard-headed and stubborn, and I was just not willing to give up anything, and that was my pride and my ego until I was really tired of being sick and tired even in sobriety. Like, um nothing came to me quickly at all. Like, I mean, I was happy that I wasn't drinking, but like, um I was just like, why are all these people getting things so quickly, in their sobriety back? But like for me, like everything came back to me like super slowly. And I think it's because, God was just trying to teach me a lesson, even further than what I wanted. And because, it was my will that was always getting in my way. And but once it came, like I was just like, wow, it was I definitely had to earn it for sure. And it wasn't like a given thing. I had to earn it, and it was a privilege. It wasn't just like something that just came to me. Like, and I see that as a good thing because I can tell other people that as well. Like when I sponsor people that some things don't always come so quickly. In sobriety, but it will come. You just have to be patient, and you have to see the lessons that we learn in the program. So that is all I have for that. I will stop the recording and we'll open it up for a quick little share.